Hello, BookTube. How are you doing today? Wonderful. And you look fantastic, by the way. It's been a while since I've made a video like this. Today's a tag video. It's called the Beauty in Books tag. It was co-created by this wonderful booktuber I came across recently named Emily Clarice Pizzoa and her friend Ruben of To Readers It May Concern. I'll be sure to include their links in the description box below so you can check them out as well. Okay, there are 8 prompts. Each prompt starts beauty in ... So let's begin. Beauty in concept. There's a book that popped in my mind once I read this first prompt. I have no idea why it popped into my mind. I haven't read this book since it came out in 2011, but I'm glad it came in my consciousness for this prompt. The book is called 7 Deadly Sins by Corey Taylor. If you're not familiar with Corey Taylor, he is one of my personal favorite singer-songwriters of today. He fronts the bands Slipknot and Stone Sour. Not much before he writes his own songs. So really, the man really is a poet. That's essentially what songwriters are. The concept of this book was very interesting. This was Corey Taylor's first book that he had written. The concept is, in today's world, the 7 deadly sins are outdated. So what he does, he goes through each sin, explains why they're outdated, and toward the end, he provides a new set of 7 deadly sins that are more fit for the modern world. It's a great mix. They touch on a lot of serious subject matter. They also have a little dark, twisted humor throughout the book as well. Give you an example. The first sin he addresses in the book, I remember, was called was about anger. The point of his explanation was anger is as natural an emotion as anything else, and a lot of times you are completely justified in your anger. But the whole point he makes in his book is that if you don't address that anger, you let it boil up inside of you, it can lead to wrath, and you may end up doing some things that hurt others around you and hurt you most of all. So that's kind of the logic you get behind a lot of behind his writing for a lot of these different sins. That's one of the darker side of the book. But I mentioned he has a lot of fun with it too. Like one of the newer sins that he proposes for the modern world is actually bad music. So get a little mix and match. You get some serious thought mixed in with some dark, twisted humor. And like I said, it popped in my head all these years later, so clearly it was very well written. The second prompt, beauty in an opening line. That was an easy choice for me too. Remember one of my earliest videos, I did a little book haul. I mentioned I was on a Japan kick. I was buying books from all these different Japanese authors. And I came across this one. It's called All the Lovers in the Night by Miko Kawakami. I was going up and down the aisles of Barnes & Noble. I found this, came across this author. Saw she had a number of books, so I figured she must be pretty good. And so this one I picked up off the shelf. I read the first line, and it's literally the reason I bought it. So I'll read it to you I'll read it right now for you. Opening line. Why does the night have to be so beautiful? It helped me right away. One more line down. Because at night only half the world remains. Boom, I read those 2 lines and I bought the book. So right there, beauty. So yeah, beauty and opening line, that was really the only choice for me. Third prompt, beauty and character. So of course, for this one, I was thinking of the series I loved most, because I figure if I stick with a series long enough, clearly I love that character. So I picked up this guy. The author C.J. Box and his character Joe Pickett. This is not the latest book. This is the one right before that called Stormwatch. Joe Pickett, he's my kind of guy. Let's say what he does for a living. Joe Pickett is a game warden in the state of Wyoming. As part of a game warden, you're kind of serve 2 roles. You're part law enforcement and you're part environmental protection. So some days you could be checking people to make sure they have their licenses to fish and to hunt. Other days you can come across some violent criminals. Remember, you're in Wyoming. You're out in the wilderness. You're on your own. So we follow Joe Pickett in these mystery series, one after another. And C.J. Box has written over 20 of these novels. He's written 1 novel a year. Main reason I love this so much is that we follow Joe Pickett and his family like in real time, year after year, and like Joe is like such a family man, like, and also people don't think much of him, like they think he's kind of a dope, like they kind of look down on him, but when you put him under duress, he steps up and he saves the day. And like I say, he's a good man with a moral conscience in a big nasty world, and he never budges. That's why I like the guy a lot. I mentioned being a character. Like I said, we follow his family. I love his family just as much as the man himself. It's like you read a book year after year. It's like you really grow up with them. Okay, the next prompt: a beauty amidst pain. So pain. This is another one, like another book I haven't read in years, but it popped in my head when I thought of this prompt. It was called 5 Feet Apart. It was actually a young adult novel. I read, like I don't even read a young adult, but I have no idea why I read this back in the day when it came out, but I read it and I loved it. And it's about like these teenagers. They're in a hospital. God, the name of the condition they have escapes me, but it's like your lungs build up too much mucus, and like so you have to wear like a vest that essentially shakes you to get the mucus out, spit it out, and if one of these kids with this condition, if they like infect another kid with that condition, it could be very fatal. So like, so we follow these kids, like they're young teenagers, like they can't even live. They're stuck in this hospital. Then we follow the nurses, like they're doing the best to try and look after these kids. And then, anyway, like like sick kids are always have a special place in my heart too. It's just like you talk about being dealt a bad hand in life and just being born with the condition. That's it's heartbreaking. So yeah, feeling amidst pain, like kids in pain always really gets to me more than anything else. Next prompt. This is number 5. So beauty and incompleteness. So incompleteness. Okay. Well, there's actually 2 books that came out that fit this prompt for me. They were the last 2 published novels by Cormac McCarthy, The Passenger and Stella Maris. I have the 2 on audiobook, which I know highly recommend. I always say like the best audiobooks, they're not narrations, they're a performance. These 2 certainly fit that description. But when I say like these 2 books are incomplete, we follow these 2 characters, Bobby and Alicia Weston. Alicia, we know right from the beginning of the first book, like page 1, she's dead. So the book is, we gotta go back and forth between Bobby in like the present day, and then we follow Alicia during her time at a mental institution called Stella Maris. So that's the name of the second book. And then in the second book, Stella Maris, the whole thing is like a one-on-one interview between Alicia and her doctor. Like Alicia has agreed to be part of like a study, and that's why the doctor is interviewing her, and that's the whole book. I thought it was fantastic. And the whole book, if you break down like what happens, like what's the story, what happens, it's really very simple. Because for the most part, the book is all conversations. It's conversation between like our 2 main characters and different people. And in terms of like the big plot, like there's so many questions that we don't even get any answers to. In large part because Alicia's dead. You know that from the very beginning, as I said, and like when you're dead, the secrets die with you. So after once you get past all the conversation, like what happened, we really don't know. Like Bobby, like he's a salvage diver. He's salvaging like a small plane that went underwater. It's sealed up. It's like something like the manifest says there was 9 people on board, but there's only 8. So next thing you know, he's being investigated by like government men. They want to know like what he knows. Like why? What happened in the plane? We don't know. Alicia, at one point we know she has a violin that's worth like something like $130,000. $130,000 violin. Like where is it? Like, we don't know. She's dead. Like we're never gonna find out now. And like yeah, it's such like a complex story too. It's all about the people too, and like I said, all these unanswered questions. I thought in the past about doing a video just about these books alone, because there's so much stuff that you can talk about, like so much to think about. Before I move on, I'll tell you a little bit more about Stella Maris, the passenger in Stella Maris, to pique your interest a little bit. We have Bobby and Alicia Weston, very much in love with each other. Like part of the story is they're in Italy, and Bobby's racing cars. He gets into a crash. He's in a coma, And Alicia's advised by the doctors that like to take him off life support, and she can't handle it. She goes back to the States and she checks herself into Stella Maris, the mental hospital. And oh my God, yeah, I better save this for another video too, because like the two of them, like they're only compatible for each other. And if you read the book, you know like why that's really messed up. So yeah, I'll probably do a whole video about this in the future. So consider this a little teaser. All right, next prompt: beauty in place. Beauty in place. Okay. I thought about this for a while too, and I just settled on one. There's a book that came out not too long ago. A sequel just came out actually. I mean, the book was called Brooklyn by Colm Toibin. And the main reason I picked this out too, because I'm born and raised here in New Jersey. My family was originally from Brooklyn. And the book takes place in I haven't read in so long. I forget if it's in the 1930s or like post World War II, in the late 40s. I want to say it was the 30s. Anyway, it's about like this young girl from Ireland named Eilish. Like comes to America to live a better life. Her family wants her to come here because there's nothing for her in her hometown of Ireland. And she moves to Brooklyn, New York. I was like, so there's also immediately that connection in place because that's where my whole family's from. And one thing that made me laugh too was like in the book she dates an Italian fella, and she calls it an Italian fella. I myself am an Italian fella, and I once dated an Irish girl. So like the little interaction between them in the book would just made me laugh a little bit. Little known fact, I don't know if you know this, but here in the upper Northeast, you often find that the Italians and the Irish marry each other. It's like, yeah, we want to marry someone different, but we keep it Catholic. There's a little familiarity there. So yeah, Brooklyn. Yeah, everything about it just like was like, yeah, it just spoke to me as part of my history too. All right, two more. Here we go. Prompt number 7: beauty in time. Okay, this one once again, this hits home too. It's one of my earliest reviews. I reviewed the book The Midwife, which was adapted into a television series, and it's now popularly known as Call the Midwife. This book. Okay, well, first of all, I'll tell you why I was so drawn to it. Because look back, my grandfather, he served in World War II. Like he was in the medical corps and he was stationed in London. And back then, like London was getting bombed every day. It was terrible. Like, the people were starving. Like England was cut off. And so this book, called The Midwife, it takes place in the mid-50s. Things are looking up. England's on the rebound. All these babies are being born, like the boomers. Things are looking up. The country's rebuilding. And that's where this woman, Jennifer Worth, comes in. She writes about her time as a midwife with the nuns at Nonatus House. And it's really a number. There's a lot going on in the book too. It was absolutely wonderful to read about this time period because you see, like the Jennifer Worth, she doesn't really say this outright, but we can tell that she had like a comfortable upbringing. So here she is working with like the poor, the lower class, and like she's like blown away. Like she's wondering, how do people live like this? But she quickly learns that like to love and respect these people. Like she has no idea how they live, but they just do. And her relationship with the nuns too morphs as well. Like of course, she's like, oh, how do you behave around nuns? I think we're all a little kind of like that when we come across religious people. But after a while, that seeps away, and she sees these nuns just as like these incredible women for like what they're doing. Like one of the nuns, like in World War II, she was like a volunteered. She literally parachuted out of an airplane to help in the war effort. She parachuted out of an airplane to where the soldiers were to help them. Like she was the original flying nun, folks. Right, and Call the Midwife. You can read all about it. And finally, the last prompt: beauty in catharsis. So catharsis. Once again, I thought about this, and there was really only one answer for me because there was one book. It's a big one. It was very popular. Came out a while ago. It's been adapted into multiple movies. Big bestseller. And that is a man called Uwe. Is that how you pronounce it? I'm trying to find the right way to pronounce his name. Like Uwe. I'm just calling him Uwe for now. So this is about an old man. Uwe. He's a cranky old man. He hates people. He hates being around them. He never addresses anyone by their names. Like he has like derogatory nicknames for everybody. But as we follow him, like we get like his backstory. We really learned like like why he is the way he is. Essentially, like I see so much of myself in Uva. He's like a guy like just wants to live a quiet life to himself, and just like people come out of nowhere and take what he's got, and like what else? So yeah, he becomes very like self-reliant. Really, for the main purpose, he doesn't have to interact with people. Here he is, like in his old age, he's kind of miserable. But then things take a little turn for the better. You come across a trope in this book, which is one I'm becoming let's see, very fond of lately. It's called The Found Family. It's like here he is, he's like crummy. Like he meets these new neighbors, and this his neighbor's wife. Funny, Uva calls her the foreign pregnant one. It's like so he always refers to her as the foreign pregnant one, but she's like persistent. Like she doesn't leave Uva alone. She loves the guy, and like next thing you know, Uva he has like a little found family. So like just when you thought things were going like quite poorly and quite sad, things took a little turn for the best. So you're very fond of that. Ooh, another reason why I connect with this book so much, you see on the cover, like the cat is peeing on Uva's leg. Yeah. Well, in the building I live in now, my landlord's cat is in fact trying to kill me. Like the cat has run up behind me up the stairs and nearly tripped me on a number of occasions. So, like Uva, the cat doesn't like me either. All right, that was a lot of fun. Okay, let's wrap this up, folks. So thank you once again, Emily, like the wonderful Emily, for tagging me. Had a lot of fun doing this. I, of course, will tag a bunch of people. I'll put them all down in the description box below. So I hope whoever I tag, even if you don't choose to participate, I would love for people to click on your channels and check you out and get some eyes on your channels as well. And let's see, what else was I going to say? Let's see. Yeah, that's about it. So yeah, in a couple of days I'll be back with my August reading wrap up, and I'm underway for September. I'm participating in Shaketember, where we read Shakespeare in September. So see, I'm just starting to get underway with Macbeth. It'll be the first book the first Shakespearean play I review. I just bought this the other day at Barnes & Noble too. It's like, good lord, all these sonnets and poems by the man. So, I thought I'd do some readings on this channel as well, but you don't want to hear this out of this nasally nose. Okay. Who knows? We might have a little fun with it. Who knows? Anyway, folks, have a wonderful end of August. Have a happy Labor Day. Take care, everyone.